Today I wanted to head back in the lands of Attirium and sculpt an important event of its story. And it begins with this aluminium skeleton because skeletons are inside, thus easier to add in the beginning. When I create characters like that, I like to start with the shoes and work my way up. Once this lump of clay looks broke-like enough, I can add another sausage above so as to make it become a boot. When it's all smooth, I can add the ever-important shoe color and then some wrinkles and folds on the leather boots that are more clay boots for the moment. Once I bake them, I can start working on the pants or trousers if you're a tea drinker, by adding clay sausages and thickening them as needed. And he obviously gets a beefed up cake. I can then add the essential wrinkles and folds in the fabric. Once done, leather belts are added so as to attach something later. And now we're later, so I can make him a purse to add on the belts that I made off camera. I once more saved my progress by baking Gutheinz, and I can now start working on his torso and arms that are quite bland and tasteless for the moment. So much that I added a folded sleeve for more interest on the arms. Once I finished the upper section of the model without filming anything because I seemingly can't remember to press a button, I can add a leather strap around his body for his body to have a leather strap around. I also made him a shoulder armor. Oh, never mind, I didn't. I can now begin the dreaded face, and oh well, faces and heads are still the bane of my existence. This one is among the better ones I made, but it's still dumb and atrocious looking. Hands are also quite hard to make and start as a lump of clay I cut fingers into. I figured 4 fingers and a thumb would be plenty enough for a human being. Once the hands are in place, I can give this bald man some hair. Now that Gutheinz is done, I can start the other character of this diorama, Galionor. She begins life as a clump chunk of rust-proof foil wrapped in super scalpy soft. I then bulk a bit her dress and give her a belt. Once everything is smooth, I give her dress a color and begin the unfolding process using, as always, lumps of clay smoothed with the rest. Once done, I cut her in an unhealthy dose of alcohol so as to soften the clay in order to allow the jeans fabric I used to leave texture. As you can tell, it's not the same model, because the original was far too big, so I decided to make a brand new one. I can give her a head and some hair, including a braid. I also made her a long cloak with a hood. Now that the sculpting part is done, I can work on the base, starting with a piece of XPS foam in which I carved stones. I then tore the edges a bit so as to make it look more rough or jagged. Now, using a ball of aluminium foil, I apply a rocky texture on the wall. I can then apply some terrain goop, which is just plaster, Mod Podge, water, sand and pebbles from my garden, on the base, which I forgot to film the creation of. Once it's dried and primed black then white following the path of light, I can rinse-set priming by applying dark blue everywhere, since I wanted everything to be blue and dark except for what the fire lights up, but I quickly abandoned this idea. I can now apply a rocky grey on the rocky parts before starting the OSL part of the paintwork by layering oranges and yellows, brighter the closer they are to the fire. The airbrush was a huge help here. And while painting the base, I applied the same light painting on the models. I began by painting Gutheinz, and while I paint him, I'd like to tell you more about him. Gutheinz was one of the strongest fighters in the land of Attirium, but he has never been the best, and with the pressure his father put on him, he began to become more and more obsessed with becoming the best swordman who ever walked the lands. But everything changed one day, when a group of infected troops led by an apostle attacked his town and killed everyone, seemingly looking for something. He managed to get out alive, but since he was the only one left and he was a fighter, everybody began to think that he was with the infected or he fled battle, and thus they rejected him. As a result, he decided to head south toward Hiptown, the city where all pariahs and renegades come when they have nowhere to go. On his way, one night, Gutheinz encountered Gelianor. You will probably hear more about the infection as I develop the lore of this world. I am now on his jacket, for which I mixed a brown that I applied in far too many coats, and I added shadows with lighter shades. For that, all the leathery parts get the classic leather brown, and the boots get a blend black with a few highlights in dark grey. The purse, the small pouch and the shoulder armor get another type of leather brown, and finally the hair are painted black and dry brushed with a dark brown. Now, since the painting of Gelianor is much simpler, I'd like to tell you more about the diorama. As I said, Gutheinz was heading south, and one night, when he was trying to rest, he began almost shouting what he thought, and looking for a scapegoat, he began being angry towards everybody, convincing himself they were all jealous, and then Gelianor appeared.
Indeed, they are all consumed by envy, coveting the strength that is thin. Yet I, in the deepest humility, do prostrate myself before thee.
Wait, who art thou?
I am Galianor. Grant me leave to become thy beacon, that all may behold the folly of thy rejection. Thus shall the infection spread, for evermore a vessel is required.
What seekest thou, truly? And why should I place my trust in thee?
To place faith in a stranger, thou hast indeed no cause. Yet, as a token of goodwill, I do bequeath unto thee my power, and lay before thee an accord.
This was, I think, out of my comfort zone, and whether it's the OSL or the really storytelling scene, I have to say that I'm quite pleased with it. I still need to practice a lot my painting skills and face sculpting, but apart from that, I really like this diorama. Let me know if you have any suggestions or anything to say. And that's all for today, so see you next time. Cheers!